I would submit to you that money or finances is probably in the top 2 of things that cause people anxiety. You want to buy a nice jacket, you see the jacket, and it says, this used to cost £250 and is now £150.
So is that the same kind of psychology?
This whole idea of money was when we were already in debt, right? So no one told us already in debt, And sometimes when I'm coaching people, I say, look, money has many different names. Let's call it capital, because money is capital. Let's call it a fund.
Can financial stress actually affect someone's emotional well-being? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Shelf Conversation podcast. Today, we have Jacques Opoku in our midst. He is a wealth advisor and investment specialist with over 11 years of experience. He is passionate about making financial education accessible and combines his expertise with a unique focus on mental well-being. Jacques, it's great to have you here. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, it's my pleasure. No, I'm doing very well.
Yeah?
I'm a bit achy. Just got back from the gym. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
Thank you very much.
Good. I'm feeling
Thank
good.
you very much for making this happen, because I know we have been following your work on Instagram specifically, and I've seen the amazing stuff you've been doing, going from churches to school to engaging with young people to engaging with women's circle to make sure that everybody is financially educated. Is there a reason behind it?
Oh my gosh, where do I begin? How long do we have? So look, absolutely. I'm extremely passionate about financial education because I feel as if there are many issues that seem to manifest in life, and a lot of the time when we look at the back end, sometimes we don't admit it, but often it is money related. Now, I grew up in a lower socio-economic background. I was the first person in my family to go to university, first person to buy a property in the UK, etc. And so,
in your family, you mean?
In my immediate family. And when I look at my background, I went to university, graduated, and then I ended up working in an industry called asset management.
Okay.
Now, asset management is a fantastic industry, but it was very new to me at the time.
Yeah.
And essentially, what the role is you're basically managing assets. You're managing the money of wealthy individuals, families, businesses, corporates, pension funds, etc. And it was there that I realized that actually there's this world where people can invest their money and grow their money and become even more wealthy, but I have never heard of it before. At home, at school, at church, no one had ever spoken about this thing to me, and I was privileged enough to be working in the industry. So about 8-9 years ago, I started to teach it to my community to say, hey, look, this is how you invest, this is how you manage money, this is how you grow your wealth, this is how you minimize taxes, etc. And it was taken very well, and I just thought like actually everybody needs this access. And so I started financial coaching. But one thing I realized, Kwame, was a lot of this stuff you can teach it mechanically, you can teach the technicalities, right? Easy, right? It's easy to teach. But what you find is this idea of building wealth is behavioral. Okay. It's behavioral. And so for me, a lot of the work that I was doing for professionals 25 and above was actually coaching them rather than just teaching them about, how to value a stock and all these things. It was actually getting them to change their mindset when it comes to money. And I realized actually it would have been better if I started teaching it earlier. And so in 2019, with a very close friend of mine, we went to the same school, same college, we live in the same area, and he's from the charity sector, we decided to start a social enterprise to go into schools and youth clubs and anywhere that had young people from the ages of 11 upwards to teach them financial education, credit scores, debt management, avoiding financial crime. That's another one as well. So as I said, it's a long story, but that's why I'm passionate about it. Yeah.
I'm actually blown because the reason why I'm blown is because we have all seen the gap in our education sector when it comes to finances. I believe you have heard it multiple times, people talking about financial literacy being added to the curriculum. So seeing someone sitting right in front of me doing it already shows that it's actually achievable, because these young people will go to school and learn their maths, because the whole reason why we learn maths is to be able to use it in life. And no matter what we do, the maths that we're doing, it boils down to money. It comes, the whole apex at the top is money that we are meeting, because if you are doing 2 + 2 every single day, it's money that you are doing, So for you to actually start and engaging young people at the age of 11, I believe is something that is commendable. And thank you very much for doing that to the young people. Do you think it is boiling out of some early lessons that personally you experienced? As you made mention that you never heard it from your home, heard it from your church. Could that be something that's influenced you psychologically that, let me give to the community what I didn't receive at an early age?
Absolutely. What I found a lot of the time was the first time I myself and my peers were engaging in this whole idea of money was when we were already in debt. Right? So no one told us already in debt, So no one told us the power of compounding even working against you when you take out some debt or you go into your overdraft and you don't pay it back, and the interest starts to compound over time. And of course, in my personal family, there was experiences with debt and stuff like that as well. So for me, as I said, I believe prevention is better than cure. So, and education is the thing that prevents you from making uninformed decisions, right? So that's something I saw. Also, just the inability to actually have access to raw information and raw mentorship from people who may have been doing well financially, I would have thought. So what I mean by that is, in terms of even thinking about buying a house, who was going to hold my hand and guide me towards the process of actually acquiring a property. There was no real anyone really for me to kind of approach. And so for me, I really wanted to fill that gap. It's almost like I was filling a gap for myself when I was younger.
Yes.
And where I believe we've made huge impact is because there are certain demographics that have little to no access to a lot of information. Now, there's a lot of stuff on Google and stuff, but it can become overwhelming.
Exactly.
Too much information, right?
Lots of information.
Leads to procrastination and analysis paralysis.
And some of them might be misinformation.
Well, there's a lot of that as well, and the scams and stuff like that. But what I found, particularly me and the co-founder, is when we work with a certain demographic, they listen to us because they can relate to us. They look like us and we look like them.
Yes.
And so, for example, I love Martin Lewis, but you know who Martin Lewis is?
I've seen him come on TV.
He's
the guy. Okay.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy. But someone like Martin Lewis, if he came to my school to teach me financial education, when I would listen to it.
I can relate.
I can't relate.
Because they will be mentioning certain things that within my own geographical settings, I will not be seeing it. So I basically have to create that kind of vision in my head for it to become real to me. But if I'm getting someone from my community standing in front of me, coming from a similar background as me, I believe I'll be more willing to ask certain questions because if the person starts talking about how much stocks he buys and everything, and I have not even started stocks, then I wouldn't be able to relate.
You can't comprehend what they're discussing. And whereas, if I'm speaking to a young boy or girl in their teenage years, I know the challenges they're going through.
Yes.
I know the challenges their parents are even going through with, dealing with things back home and etc. So that's why we're really passionate about the young people and really providing them with as much access to quality financial education.
That's really good. Thank you very much. And even the Bible even says that for the lack of knowledge, my people do perish. And we don't want anyone to perish over here. So if you are listening to this is still the Shelf Conversation podcast. And today, my guest is Jacques Opoku, who is going to talk us through about mental health, money, and wealth as well. How are they going to actually link together for us to be able to have a great transition in our life? If you want to hear more about it, why don't you stay tuned to the end of this conversation? Because I believe all of us need this kind of education. So, Jay, is going on. You've actually shared your personal experiences have really shaped you, the way that you think about money. And coming on to the next topic, which is about financial decisions and mental health, how they are deeply connected. Because one thing that you've made mention that I could resonate is at home, there's not much about money, because me growing up in a business home because in my home is full of entrepreneurs. And I remember one day in this country, I was just there and my mom was basically stressed because she's experienced a lot of losses because the goods that she sent back home, logistics problems has happened and it has resulted in a lot of loss. What I told myself was that I'm never going to see myself in business. I'm never going to do a business because I was actually only looking at the losses. I was not looking at the profit because I only saw the impact on her when she was losing, but I didn't see that she's made some gains as well. So it was very, very fascinating for me to be the one now talking about business to her, thinking about business proposals. So it made me realize that if you're not surrounded in an environment that do show you both sides or you don't understand, you can really make some drastic decisions which can go a long way of closing certain doors for the person. So in terms of making complex financial decisions, how do you make complex financial concepts understandable for your clients who may feel intimidated by money?
Yeah.
Because I feel intimidated, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, look, you've touched on something that's really important, which is a lot of the decisions we make financially, or actually sometimes it may not seem like a financial decision because you're making a decision, you don't realize that the root of that decision could be financial. But
Yes.
I'll get back on that. A lot of it is down to our emotions.
Yes.
It's down to our feelings. It's down to our experiences. It's down, and when I say experiences, it can go down to as young as 7 years old. There's a study that shows that most of our financial habits and ideologies and feelings around money is already determined by the time we're 7 years old.
Wow.
So if you grew up in a household where there was a lot of lack and scarcity mindset, and the terminologies used in the household was money doesn't grow on trees, right? Or I can't afford it. Then there's a very high chance that you will grow up with the scarcity mindset, right? Similarly, or on the opposite side, if you grew up in a household where there was a lot of financial resources available and almost every single time you wanted something, you got it, chances are you will have the abundance mindset. And I always tell people, like, these two mindsets, one sounds better than the other, but, and we'll probably go into it, they're both, you can be at the unhealthy level of both. Okay. So you can have an abundance mindset and still struggle because you're overspending irresponsibly and your abundance mindset does not actually meet your reality. Similarly, you can have the scarcity mindset that can actually help you save because you understand that maybe resources are kind of limited at this particular moment in time. So that's another conversation to say. It's not always one is bad and one is negative.
I know how I belong. I know how I belong because I'm the kind of person who always like to save, right? Yeah. And with me, when it comes to saving, I had the idea of saving for myself as young as I was in year 5. Right. Because I wanted certain things, right? And I was not getting it. Not because my parents can provide it, but I feel like I was putting a burden on them. Why is it that everything I have to go and actually ask them? And so every amount of money I was getting to spend in a day, for example, if my mom gives me £5, that was when I was in Ghana, I will make sure that I split the £5 and I spend only £2. Right. £3 is saved. Yeah. So I will save it and leave it, compound everything to the end of the academic year and buy myself a gift. It became questionable because my siblings had to start questioning, how is he able to afford that? So they had to even end up auditing where I was getting the money from. Wow. Because growing up in such a household, they may think I've developed this habit of stealing. Yes. But no, they never knew that I was saving. Yeah. So this is what this is the funny bit. The funny bit is one of my older siblings knew where the money was kept. So one day I came,
and it wasn't there no more.
Today she didn't pay me. So I am actually on the saving bit. And you made mention that sometimes it doesn't meet the reality. I am able to save to the point that sometimes I have the mentality that if I go and get into my savings, all the money is going to go. Yes. I'm losing because why should I touch my savings at this point in time? But meanwhile, I need it. This is why I'm saving it for.
The whole purpose of saving.
That's the whole point of saving. And I thought I was the only one. I've had this conversation with other people and they have the same mindset. And I have to remind them that you are saving for emergency purposes. Assess yourself. Is this emergency or you are doing it for luxury? Yeah. If there's emergency, then don't feel guilty.
Correct.
Use it and get yourself out of that trouble. Yeah. Then when you're able to sort yourself out, you can continue saving. Yeah. That's it.
Well, that's the purpose. That's the purpose of having an emergency fund, right? But yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm in the same boat. So, and actually, I do find with doing a lot of like financial counseling and coaching that a lot of men tend to be natural savers. Yes. They tend to save a bit more than the ladies.
And they call us stingy. Especially Ghanaian men. They call us stingy because we don't want to spend.
No, I've got my own thesis behind why they say that. It's because they're comparing us to another group of men.
And those group of men, I've sat with some of them and I did understand why they say we are stingy. Because when I went to Ghana for December and I know I can afford it, but I saw my friend counting a lot of CDs and he has already paid my food before I went to pay. So imagine we get ourselves in that environment. They'll call us a stingy because the bills that we are going to be able to afford and pay, they get paid a lot to be able to afford that. But with us, every month, every single pound is going towards a bill. So if they call us stingy, it's fine.
It's one of those
it's fine.
Childish.
So for us, we are actually taking care of our family.
Absolutely. And I say, look, it's important to understand when you do have the scarcity mindset, to understand where it's coming from. And like you said, if you do have the savings, the purpose of the savings was to come into play if you need it. And so if you do need it, you should be able to. That doesn't mean, and I think it's important that we give ourselves grace and understand that, again, there is a driving force between why we feel a certain way about money. I remember, and I'm in the same boat, by the way. I grew up in a household where there wasn't much, so I grew up with a scarcity mindset. And so for me, even when I was getting paid lots of decent money and doing well in my career, I still wouldn't treat myself to good things because somewhere in my psyche, if you can call it that, you probably know more about it than I do. Somewhere I feel as if
it's not real.
Not even that. It's almost like I'm losing. It's almost like losing blood. It's like I'm dying as I'm spending the money. It's like I don't ever want to get to zero.
Exactly.
Ever. And a lot of the time, the decisions we make are trauma informed.
You're right.
Right. And so I heard someone say, if you ever say something like, "I will never XYZ," chances are that thing you're saying is a trauma-informed decision. So if I say I will never be broke again, it's because
you've been broke before.
I've had a traumatic experience with poverty, for example, right? And so we give ourselves grace, right? And we understand that it's a real feeling and it has a real basis, and we should understand that it's real for us, but we have to find ways to overcome it. And there are different tools and strategies we can use to overcome that. But I wanted to answer your question because you asked, how do I kind of communicate with clients
to make it understandable in terms of concept,
and one of the things that I do is I try to take out the jargon because there's a lot of jargon in finance. Goodness me. So much jargon, and they love a 3-letter acronym. Everything is 3 letters.
CRA.
CRA. this, GFC, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So I try to take out the jargon. And probably you've seen this as well, as I try to use a lot of analogies.
Yes.
Because analogies really bring things to life. Exactly. Analogies and then examples as well. And that's the easiest way for people to understand. And also being honest with them, saying, look, you may not understand everything straight away. This takes time. Yes. But it's once you start to compound the knowledge, by the time you know, you'll be an expert.
Fantastic. If you are still watching or listening to this, it's still the Shelf Conversation podcast. And today my guest is Jacques Opoku, and he's sharing with us about the knowledge behind money and wealth and how it's also linked to our mental health. So Jacques, there is this study that was done in 2025. This is this year by Anglia Ruskin University. It was published in the journal, and it is an ethnic and racial studies, which has highlighted the significant impact of cost of living crisis on the mental health of Black communities in the UK. It's found out that rising interest and bank rates have been associated with a deterioration in general and mental health. Additionally, a report by Money and Mental Health Policy Institute revealed that among individuals with mental health problems, 33% of Black British, Caribbean, or African individuals with mental health issues are reported being in arrears. This is lower than their fellow Caucasian counterparts. This financial strain can exacerbate mental health challenges and, as a result, causing cycle of stress and anxiety. What do you make of this report, these two reports?
No surprise. I'm not surprised in the slightest.
Wow.
There's a saying that I came across when we're talking about money.
Yeah.
That money may not seem like the most important thing in the world, but it affects everything that we deem to be important.
Yes.
Right? So money is not the most important thing, or we think is not the most important thing. But everything that we do believe is important, whether it's our relationships, whether it's our health, mental health,
You're right.
Money affects it. Right? And that's because money is a store of value and is a medium of exchange. So for many, many things, including our basic needs, we need money in order to be able to facilitate those basic needs, like putting food on the table, like having shelter. And so I'm not surprised, because when we also look at the income and wealth distribution, you would find that most people, well, the Black community are at the bottom in terms of wealth and in terms of the incomes we generate.
Is it that we are not working hard enough, or?
Oh, it's a big conversation. I most definitely not to do with hard work.
Because I know
because we
as
work
Black
hard.
people, we work hard. We put in the hours.
We work the hours.
Our mothers, our fathers, uncles are working about 3 or 4 shifts.
Yeah, it's not about
in a
hard
day.
work.
Yeah.
There are many different segments we can go into.
Investment?
Investment is one of those things, but education. But I have so much empathy, and there is a generation, our generation after us, so millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Alpha, who sometimes forget what the world looked like just a few decades ago. There was no social media the way we see it. There was no podcast as easy as for us to meet online and to be here today, right? And many of our parents came from Africa and the Caribbean to start a new life. Now imagine how complicated that could be. Some people had degrees and so many things, but those degrees didn't mean anything. So they'll be doing things like morning cleaning. And so in order to try and climb the ladder, it's very difficult, because there's a saying, the rich get richer. Yeah, of course the rich get richer, because
and the poor is getting poorer.
It's just how the thing goes, right? Even the whole idea of compound interest. If someone has £100,000 and they earn 10%, that's £10,000. So of course the rich get richer. But if you've got only 100, 10% return is what, right? Sure. And so, as I said, there's many different reasons. Some systemic, and things like DEI has tried to address some of these challenges. I'm of the thought that we should spend more time thinking about what we can do, right? Which is why I mentioned the whole financial education piece, why I'm so passionate about it, and how we as individuals can build wealth for our community, within our community. But it starts off by becoming financially conscious, right? It also is about dealing with our mental well-being and dealing with our trauma. I think there's a lot of trauma in the community, a lot of issues with families. And for me, at the heart of wealth is family.
It's true.
At the heart of wealth is faith. The faith, I'm a Christian. I believe I've done degrees and masters and professional qualifications, but the best financial principles I have found are in the Bible.
In the Bible. Right?
And in fact, some of the things that I've learned, the technical textbook terms are just a new kind of way of saying some of the things that I've already seen. Even diversification, Solomon talked about it in the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. So it's about, and even when we talk about faith, it's not just about going to church and, just listening to the word and not really being doers of the word.
It's an investment.
But if you follow the principles and the laws, because God has created a world with principles and laws and the graces for all, which is why there are people that may not be of the faith and are still prospering because they're following the principles that God has put on earth.
I read it somewhere. I was having this comment. It's good that you've actually made mention of how the Bible contains the principles of wealth, and most of the people that I follow online who are wealth experts also come from that kind of background and they believe in that. And recently I was sharing with one of my friends how even the Bible talks about how we have to actually cast our burdens and we will actually get it back. It's basically trying to actually tell us about how we can actually do, because if you apply that, it's like basically investing your money. You are casting it. You are just trying to actually put it in different areas and arenas. When it's due to the harvesting time, you're going to get it. Another example was I don't know if it's called the parable of the seed, but I think of the sower, where the seed was given to different people. And when the master called them, when it was time for harvest, most of them didn't show up with anything, but only one of them was able to show up with something to the master, because he made sure that he planted it in the right soil, provided the right environment, nutrients, watered it. And when it was harvest day, he was able to show up with something. So it shows that even you can have all the financial education, but if you don't apply it, as the Bible even says that faith without work is dead.
Yeah.
You can have all the education, you can attend all the seminars, but if you're not applying it by using the faith to make that bold step, nothing is going to actually happen.
Because there's a difference between being knowledgeable and having wisdom. Well, we need to apply wisdom. We talk about parables, there's so many. Matthew chapter 25, you've got the talents. I always tell people that story is so fascinating. It's a pure economic story, right? If you really get into it. Or even simple principles like, when Pharaoh had a dream and Joseph interpreted the dream, and he ultimately said there was 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine. That's business cycles.
So basically, you have to make sure that you keep and know how to preserve some.
Yeah. So when there's bad days, know that there's going to be good days at some point. So you don't give up during the bad days. You wait for the good days to come, and you prepare for the good days. Similarly, when there's good days, don't just get too excited with the good days. Understand that at some point, the storm will come. So are you going to be prepared? Would you have your anchor? And so, in answering your question again, look, especially in our community, the Black community, because we're starting off with less resource, we have to find leverage. That's what I truly believe in, leverage. And what do I mean by leverage? I don't mean go and borrow money and invest crazy. No, that's not the kind of leverage I'm talking about. I'm talking about things like group economics, right? Working together, right? Because what two people can do, one person can't. One person may be able to do 1,000, two can do 10,000.
Yeah.
So actually working together. But notice what I said earlier, we have to get rid of, or not get rid of, we have to overcome some of the traumatic experiences we had, because even trust is an issue in our community.
100%.
And if we can trust each other, then we can work together, then we can leverage, and that's the way we can catch up.
Because some people you can lend money to some people and they will not want to pay back. Paying back is even a big whole issue on its own. For you to even want to come for us to start a business, the person has got a mentality that, on what grounds should I trust you? But maybe that time you had a very perfect business plan that both of you can actually reap from that kind of success from that kind of business. So you've made mention of it. Trauma actually ends dictating a lot of decisions that we do or we make in our community when it comes to finance as well. And in your experience, what are some of the common financial mistakes people make that affect both their wealth and mental health?
Yeah. I would say first and foremost, an obvious one that comes to mind is the fact that people don't like talking about money. Money just seems like this taboo, this almost evil word. Yeah. And then they will use terminology like money is a root to all evil.
But the Bible
does not say that.
The love for money is the root of all evil.
And even if when you look at the raw translation, it's like the love of money is a root to all evil. So if you love money, you will do all types of evil things to obtain it. That's what it really means. Yeah. So we must try and change our understanding and the way we look at money. And sometimes when I'm coaching people, I say, look, money has many different names. So maybe let's change the terminology. Let's call it capital, because money is capital. Let's call it a fund. Let's call it something else. I'll give you another example. When people hear the term budgeting, some people makes them shake. They hate the word budgeting because in their mind, they think a budget is all about restriction. It's all about reducing your quality of life. But that's not what a budget is. A budget is really just a system of allocating your resources the most effectively and efficiently you can. That's why businesses that don't have budgets go bankrupt because they run out of cash flow. That's why even as we're recording this next month, we have the budget. We've got the budget coming. Even the whole economy has a budget.
Exactly.
So we all need budgets because budgeting is at the heart of all good financial planning. So it's changing our ideologies and unlearning some things when it comes to even how we look at the term money. That's a very, very common mistake I see. And that's why most people don't engage in conversations, because for them it's such a scary word. And then we've got other things. Oh gosh, if we're talking about things like investing, which is my absolute area of specialty, gosh, yeah, there's lots of mistakes here. You
see, they don't have the right guidance.
Not the right guidance.
They follow the trend.
Following trends, gambling. So coming into the, we're talking about trying to catch up. And I talked about leverage. Some people are trying to catch up by gambling. So rather than, using, for example, the stock market as a long-term vehicle to grow their wealth, which is what it's supposed to be there for, they will come in, and because the stock market is a liquid market, you can buy and sell, they'll try and buy and sell, and to call it trading sometimes, which really and truly what they're doing is gambling. And so this is why, in my opinion, studies have shown that 70% of retail investors, which is the average person, loses money in the stock market, even though the stock market as a whole has been going up on average for the past 120 years. So it's it's everything. I say this thing, I could teach all the mechanics, but this is all a behavioral thing.
Yeah.
And in one episode that I done not long ago, I was really honing on to the idea that the reason why we make bad financial decisions is to do with two things. One, we all have emotional biases, right?
Okay.
And I can give you some examples.
Yeah, if you can share with us.
Yeah. So our emotional biases is to do with how we feel about certain things. And so a very, very common one, I would say, is, for example, loss aversion. Loss aversion. What do I mean? What the hell is loss aversion? Loss aversion basically says we feel the pain of loss more than the pleasure of gain. Okay? So if I give you £100 today, you should be like, Jack, thank you so much. Thank you. But if right now you had £100 in your pocket and then an hour later you've lost it, the pain that you attach to that loss is more than the pleasure that you attach to the gain. Right? So if we were to use numbers like your pleasure will be maybe 6 out of 10 if you got £100, but your pain will be 10 out of 10 if you lost it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's loss aversion. And that causes us to make irrational decisions, and there's so many other ones. But we also have something called cognitive error. And cognitive error can be split into different things. One of the things is something called our belief perseverance. We make decisions to try and preserve and persevere in our original beliefs. So if we've been taught something or we've been conditioned to believe something, or we just want to believe it, then we don't make the right decisions because of that feeling or of that way of thinking. So I'll give an example. The best ways are always examples, right?
Yes.
There's a popular one will be confirmation bias. Confirmation bias basically says we seek out information that already confirms our initial beliefs. And we shy away from things that don't confirm our initial beliefs. So I'm a football fan. I support Manchester United, unfortunately, at the moment.
You support the same team.
It's been tough times.
Yeah.
But and a lot of my friends are Arsenal fans.
Yes.
So as a Man United fan, because I believe Manchester United Football Club is the best club of all time.
Yes.
We can be engaged in the conversation, and the data and the proof is in the pudding that we're not good right now.
Yes.
But because in my heart of hearts, I believe Manchester United is good, I can't accept that you're telling me that Man United are not a great team.
Yeah.
Right? So even if I'm making predictions as to where would Manchester United finish in the Premier League this year, I might say they're going to finish in the top 4. When there's nothing to suggest that we will.
Going to, yeah.
But when I'm reading articles or I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm going to look for those videos that confirm that initial belief.
It makes sense.
Right? So I've just given you 2. There's about 40 to 50 of these biases. Right? If you want, I could give you one last one.
One last one, yes. One last one.
A last one is something called anchoring. Very popular one. Anchoring basically says we tend to anchor basically, I'll give you an example. If you go to the shop right now,
Yes.
and you have a nice jacket, and you want to buy a nice jacket, you see the jacket, and it says, this used to cost £250 and is now £150. And you've loved this jacket, but you can never afford it at £250. You will go and buy that jacket, especially because you've attached or you've anchored the value of that jacket with its initial price.
Yeah.
Right? Chances are, maybe if you went to that same shop, but you didn't see that it had dropped from £250 to £150, but the price was just there and it said £140, you may not buy that jacket. Because you look at the price and it's £140 still expensive. You haven't anchored it to the £250 because there was no £250 before. Do you understand the mindset behind that? Someone is more willing to buy because they said, oh, it's a sale. If they've dropped it from £250 to £150. And then for that reason, they will buy it. But if you had gone to that same shop and it was just £140, but it was not, you might have not bought it.
So is that the same kind of psychology that retailers are actually doing during the Christmas, Easter, and all of those?
It's a marketing trick, of course. Wow. Absolutely. So see, I'm giving you some examples to kind of showcase how a lot of these things affect, a lot of it's psychological. The decisions we make is almost always psychological. So we must learn about some of these emotional biases and cognitive errors, and that will help us make better informed decisions.
Thank you very much, Jakes, because I'm actually learning a lot today from the conversation I'm having with Jakes. I believe you are also learning a lot from this conversation. This is still the Shelf Conversation podcast. So if you have missed any of the previous conversations, please, why don't you take a pause and go and start from the beginning? Because every single piece of conversation topic we are having is very, very crucial at this particular point in time, because we are really, really living in a moment whereby money is very hard to come by. So you never know. One piece of information that you may get from today's conversation might save you a huge amount of money decision that you have to actually make. And you've made mention of the clients that you have. Do you have any example of any client that you have actually guided and that they have turned a bad decision they would have done into a right one through your guidance?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Oh, let me think of a good example. I had a lady who is creative. She makes lots of money. She makes a lot of money. But the problem that she was facing was, even though she made a lot of money, she never knew where her money was going. And so at the end of the month or the quarter, she couldn't really account for where the money had gone. And so she wasn't actually growing her wealth, even though she was earning good money. Because having a good income is important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. In order to build your wealth, you need to have assets. You need to have a good, what we call a balance sheet. You need to make sure that it's not just the money that you're making, but it's also the money that you're keeping. And so we started to analyze what the challenges were, what was going on, etc. Also noticed she didn't have a pension account, right? So she wasn't saving for her future retirement, which if you are employed, you will be automatically enrolled into some of these schemes. Yeah. But if you're self-employed, the onus is on you. Yeah. She didn't have any insurance products. What I mean by insurance products, I'm talking about for herself and her children, right? So she didn't have like life insurance or anything like that. She didn't have no like cash ISA or any stocks and shares ISA. She didn't have anything, and none of these products.
Well, if she had was the money that she was making.
Exactly. Okay. And so what we have first done, and that's why I mentioned the term budget. When we heard budgeting, it sounds scary. I said, look, we have to actually put things into a budget first and foremost. Just look at your income. Let's look at your expenditure. Let's look at your assets. Let's look at your liabilities. And let's go through this with a fine comb to understand what's going on. So she was tasked with printing out her last 3 months of statements so we could see where the money is going. Yeah. And we went into the statement, and she had subscriptions that she didn't even recognize. Some of those subscriptions were definitely scams, right? So she couldn't tell me where it had come from, but she was paying like 40 quid a month for something that she didn't understand.
Times 12.
So as we went through that process, we closed some subscriptions. Of course, it takes a lot of work, but I always tell people, maybe the first time you do it, it might take hours, but trust me, it's one day. Just do it. And then we started looking at the systems and saying, okay, pensions, we need to definitely start creating your own pension, something called a SIP, self-invested personal pension, where you can start having your own pension as a self-employed individual. Let's look at stocks and shares ISA. Let's look at definitely getting yourself some sort of income protection insurance, because the job you're doing right now, you might not be able to do anymore at some point. So all these little things, I think what really helped her was we created a system, we created a structure, and the structure was all automated. So it removed the fact that she had to make a decision, because when we have to make decisions, all the things I've mentioned before with our emotional biases, our cognitive errors can come into play. And one way to try and sort of remove that problem is to automate.
Fantastic.
Automation.
Thank you very much for letting us actually see the good side of making sure that you get an expert that helps you to make these decisions, because it saves you a lot of money, and also it saves you that kind of hassle that you have to go through. And in case there are people who don't have access to traditional wealth management, what practical steps would you actually give for them to be able to improve their financial well-being?
So so many people will not use a wealth manager, because let's be honest, wealth managers want to work with people that have a high net worth, because it's worth their time. But we're living in a world now where there is access to information. But I did say earlier, sometimes the access to information could be overwhelming, sometimes too much. The great thing I've started to see is that nowadays there are a lot of financial coaches that are emerging. And I like that. I like that because financial coaches are willing to work with the everyday person. Okay? So you can definitely access a financial coach. But what I would encourage people to do is, when you are trying to use, let's say, a financial coach, look for one that's actually qualified in the area.
How would they know that they are qualified?
So a lot of them will have some sort of professional qualification. Okay. So there are different qualifications, and I've seen people do it. I was talking to someone who's more of a finfluencer, he's a creator, but he's gone and done the diploma in financial advice, so that he's actually, he's actually educated
to be able to give information to people.
Even though he won't practice as a financial advisor, right? So these people, I think, are really, really good. I would also encourage, one of the things that I've tried to do nowadays, I say nowadays, one thing I tend to do, as we spoke about initially, is I try to capture different people in different areas. So I am a wealth advisor, so I do work with people that have businesses and have more money to deal with and more complex and unique circumstances. But I also have the coaching business, which is where I can't tell you what to do. It's not under the FCA regulation, right? Which is why I say, if you want a financial advisor that's regulated, they can tell you what to do, etc. That's different. But you can go to a coach, they can't tell you what to do. You have to be very careful. They can't say, go and buy this stock or invest in this. I can't do that. Unless you go through they'll
give you the data.
They'll give you the guidance. The information. The kind of say, go and look at this, consider this, so that you can make informed decisions.
Fantastic. I hope you heard it right from Jacques as well. And we found out that it's not just, when it comes to money, it's not just about the numbers. It's also about the emotional side of money. And that is the next part of the conversation that we're going to go on. How does money or our finances or our wealth affect our mental health? So, Jacques, how are money and mental health connected in your experience? Can financial stress actually affect someone's emotional well-being?
Oh, yes. I would submit to you that money or finances is probably in the top 2 of things that cause people anxiety, right? So there's a lot of financial anxiety. A lot of people have a lot of financial anxiety. Debt. There are people that are in so much debt that when the letter comes through the door, they can't even look at it. I've come across that before. And by the way, if you are someone who is struggling with a lot of debt, struggling financially, is causing you anxiety, please do speak to one of these charities. I'll give you some names: Citizens Advice, Step Change, Turn to Us, Christians Against Poverty. These are charities that can really help you, because yes, you'll be surprised at just how many people are struggling with depression, and the thing that kickstarted it was some sort of debt or financial stress. So, and I always say to people that even if it's not even if the causality or the causation, is not direct to do with money, it can be still the thing that kickstarts something that then causes you depression down the line. And I'll give you an example. The number one causes of divorce over the past few years, it keeps interchanging with infidelity, but the other one is money issues. Money issues within marriage, right? So yes, maybe the money is not the thing that's causing you the depression directly, but it's causing you to have a divorce. And we know that divorce is extremely difficult for many people. So as I said, money in itself may not be that important for a lot of people, but it affects everything, indirectly everything. So that's why I'm so passionate about people ultimately becoming more aware of the role that money plays in their life and not kind of brushing it under the carpet, that it's just something that, is only for people that are interested in finance to talk about. Because intuitively, we all go to work for that one reason.
Yeah, 100%. You want to actually see the paycheck at the end of the month.
Do you understand? So, the link between money and our mental health and overall well-being I think is direct. People say things like money doesn't buy happiness. I'm going to be controversial here. Can I be controversial?
You can't be.
Yeah?
Because we are here to bust myth.
Money can buy happiness. What money can't buy... So let me rephrase that. Money can buy happiness, but money doesn't guarantee happiness. Yes. Money can buy happiness, but it may not guarantee you long-term peace and joy. Right? I think that's the confusion. Peace and joy are different from happiness. You could be sad and still have inner joy. Yeah. Right? And inner peace. And still be sad. Yeah. Because happiness and sadness, they're fleeting emotions. Yeah. They're to do with something that's just happened. Right? So when people say money can't buy happiness, I say, guys, let's not do that. We're trying to do that thing where we don't want to talk about money. We're trying to downplay it. Yes. Money can buy happiness. If you have a child and the child wants ice cream,
and you don't have money,
and you have the money to buy the ice cream, and you buy it, and you give it to them, you've literally just made them happy. Yeah. So intuitively, we know money can buy happiness, but somehow we don't want to accept it.
Yeah, and you don't have the money, you are going to feel bad, and the child is also going to cry. Yeah. Is it going to make it worse? Yeah. It's a chain of actions.
Yeah. But it doesn't guarantee long-term joy, and no, that's true. There's no guarantees. Yeah. But money itself, you can learn how to make money make you happier. Right? It depends on how you spend it as well. If you're just gonna accumulate material things, most people that won't make them happy long term as well. But if you use money to kind of fund experiences, that can really bring you some joy. Yeah. I paid for my dad to go to Ghana earlier in the year.
That
filled me with joy.
Because it's your, how from the community that we are coming from, we have this kind of satisfaction when we have been able to do something for our parents back, because some people wish that their parents are around for them to pay them back. Because with me, I felt that I was raised by my granddad, and I felt that pain even to date. I still feel the pain that the time that he died, I had not been able to start working for at least buy him something for me to say that thank you. Wow. But he knows that within myself, I appreciated every single thing, and everything that he told me to do, I did it. So that made me change the whole thing. And when my grandmom was alive, I sent it to her. Yeah. One of the things that made me satisfied was at least one of the people who raised me before they died have actually tasted my money. And even the thing is, she didn't even use the money.
It's
when she died, they saw the money wrapped somewhere, and my sisters and my cousins actually shared it. And I said, that even makes me joyful, because she saw me that I've been able to give something back from the first labor that I have, from the harvest from my labor that I've actually had. So
that's fantastic. By the way, I'm in the same boat. Up to today, the one thing that can bring me to tears straight away is the fact that I lost my grandfather before I was able
To work.
and show him my appreciation. Because similarly, I was actually born in Ghana. Many people don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ghana boy.
I'm a Ghana boy in and out. I mean, I came in when I was really young,
Same.
but I lived with my grandparents
Yeah.
before I came to join my parents here. And it breaks my heart that he never got to see where I am today.
Exactly.
And so on. But look, so we can use money itself has it's just a medium of exchange. It's what you're going to use it for.
Exactly.
That can bring some level of happiness or whatever. But yes, we don't idolize money.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing.
As Christians, we can never.
We can't.
We can never replace God.
No, God can take away in a blink, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we should also respect what it can do.
Exactly.
And that's why Jesus spoke about money more than anything.
Yeah. Because one thing that someone actually draws my, this was not part of the conversation, but I'm just trying to actually bring attention in case people are actually listening. Whenever money is being said in the church and people start talking about money in a negative way, and someone actually draws their attention, he says, when God was building his ministry, he picked tax collectors. He picked wealthy people to join him. Not saying that he didn't find other people along the way, but because it takes money to be able to build something like evangelism, to build a church.
It's a resource. Yeah.
It's a resource to be able to buy the instrument. But some people think that it's being idolized. And I'm like, have you ever seen a church being run on no money and is being run in a certain way? So this whole controversy, especially when it comes to the community we are coming from, this whole controversy about money and everything, I believe one day people will come to the realization and realize that without money, certain things cannot run as it's supposed to. Without money, how can people be able to pay for their healthcare service? Because in America, there's nothing like NHS.
Yeah.
And even in this country, until you are of a certain age that you qualify to have free healthcare, when you go to the pharmacy and you're paying for your prescription, it's money.
Let's be honest. Even actually, I had a surgery earlier this year.
Yeah.
Right, I had a hernia repair.
Yeah, you made mention of that, and we thank God for recovery.
Amen. But I went private because if I went through the NHS, they basically actually told me that I can live with it. That's I don't think that's great advice.
And we can't even guarantee that.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, but because luckily at the time I was working for a corporate that covered it and I had private medical healthcare, I got it.
Yeah.
But Kwame, I just want to make I know time is fast.
Yeah.
I want to say something very, very quickly.
Sure.
One of the roles that I was doing as an asset manager was we used to manage the investment portfolios of charities. Now, do you know how many churches have investment portfolios now? See, this is the thing that our community don't understand sometimes. That even churches, and I can't name some of the churches for whoever, but they have investment portfolios and they invest and grow their portfolio, and the dividends and the interest and the distributions that comes from the portfolio, they can use it to grow God's kingdom. Yeah. And that's what I believe in. Exactly,
because it's been reinvested back into the kingdom. Right. And Jakes, due to the time conscious that we do have, I know that we are being carried away because the conversation is very, very juicy, but we have got a few bits to actually touch on. And you are actually a trained mental health first aider and you've developed counseling skills. How does that actually influence the way you advise your clients? Yeah. With your mental health first aid background?
Yeah, that was very important for me to have, and counseling as well for counseling skills. Because as I said, this thing people think is, of course I'm technically, I'd call it gifted, I have all the education, etc. But I find that it's not just about telling people, oh, buy this undervalued stock and do the discounted cash flow modeling. That's not, most of this is human.
Yes.
It's learning how to listen. Right? So when I sit in front of a client, I'm a talker, as you can tell, right?
I'm a talker as well.
that's how we keep deviating.
Yes.
Yeah? But it's learning how to listen to the client and understand what are your goals, what are your aspirations. You'd be surprised the relationship you can have with your client could be that of, you become a part of the family.
Yes.
As a wealth advisor or financial advisor, you become a part of the family. You're there for the children's first birthday. Exactly. You're also there for the funeral. Right? So it's a relationship, and in order to build that trust in a relationship, you need to be able to listen. You need to be able to understand what's going on in the person's mind and not just their finances. The finance part is easy. Yeah. It's simple mechanics. But it's actually understanding how you can get the best for your client.
Humanizing it.
But humanizing it, making sure you understand that this person in front of you, your client, is a human being, and in order to get the best out of this, you need to really understand them, understand what's happening there first.
Fantastic. And can you share with us some of the strategies for managing financial anxiety without ignoring financial responsibilities when it comes to clients?
Yeah. There are times where you do have to showcase a bit of tough love, but we get there a bit later where you said, you know what, when the letter comes in, just open it. You'd be surprised that it's not as heartbreaking as you would think. So there's those kind of practices. But you know what? Being there for someone, being a coach, being an accountability partner for people is very helpful to let them know that you are not alone. I am here with you. And maybe if you don't have myself, you can have someone else. Pick someone you trust. And that's why I talked about trust being an extremely important thing. If you have a problem shared is a problem half solved, they say, right? So find someone that you can actually share some of your challenges with, that's not going to judge you, that's going to have empathy, and someone that you can trust as well. And then examples I gave when it came to managing money is things like automation, creating a structure and making it work automatically, which takes away the fact that you sometimes have to make an emotional decision. When the structures are set, it helps to actually feel a bit more at ease that your financial life has been taken care of.
Fantastic. And in terms of, we've actually made mention of responsibilities, and you've made mention of it, that people need to actually grow their relationship with money. How can they be able to balance both planning of how they're going to use their money and emotional well-being? Because sometimes Christmas is coming, right? You have been sitting down and I think this year I've done well. I want to really, really spoil myself by this particular Snickers, right? But something strikes you and you'll be like, no, don't buy it because you've got XYZ to pay for and everything. It's coming from the right place. In that moment, how do you think the person needs to be able to justify the reason why they need to get it or they don't need to get it?
You see, I've kind of answered this question already and I'm going to explain.
Yes.
This is why we budget, right? Sometimes when I'm coaching people, I say, let's change the language.
Yes.
Forget the word budget.
The lingo.
Let's do something called spending plan.
Okay.
Right? Your spending plan feels different to a budget. Your spending plan is how you're going to spend money. So let's look at this thing that you want to treat yourself. If you know it's coming, if it's just off the whim and you just immediately emotionally feel that way, then that's something we have to discuss. But if you know that you want to treat yourself and Christmas is a few months away, you create that spending plan. You start putting money away. For example, if you're going on holiday next year, right? We can already start planning for 2026. 100%. If you know you want to go to Ghana or if you want to go anywhere, create a pot, right? Create a pot, a fund, an account, and start moving money into there incrementally, right? Because if you're doing it incrementally, you don't feel the loss as much, especially if you're someone who grew up with a scarcity mindset, which most people that didn't grow up with wealth will have, by the way. And so it's really creating these systems that allows you to take the emotion out of it. In that very moment, you can also ask yourself some questions. Why do I want to do this? So for example, some people struggle with, what's that phrase? Retail therapy. Which is
going to the retail to actually buy everything. It's Friday, so they'll go buy themselves this sneakers, this jacket because it's half price.
Do you understand? And that's a fleeting experience. You may feel happy for that very short space of time.
But it's justifiable.
Is it? But is it justifiable?
But they justify it.
Oh, of course. But that's the problem. You justify it.
Not to feel bad.
Not to feel bad because it's therapy. Chances are you need real therapy.
And they will give a name to it. It's therapy. It's therapeutic.
It's therapeutic. And which is, and that's when we start getting into the realm of irresponsibility. Right? And I would encourage people, by the way, that rather than going on YouTube and watching all the finance shows and all that kind of stuff and listening to Warren Buffett, etc., I submit to you that a lot of people will be better positioned with their finances if they actually do some sort of counseling and therapy. Because a lot of the decisions we make with money is not just about money, it's something else that's at play. And so if people can really go, not everybody absolutely needs therapy, but people can benefit from therapy or some sort of counseling. I would encourage everybody to do that.
Fantastic. And talking about therapy and talking about how some people need that kind of counseling, what would you say is the most important piece of advice that you would give someone who is struggling with both financial stress and mental health challenges? I believe you've mentioned it.
Yeah.
Therapy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also seeking for help.
Yeah, seeking for help with charities as well. Yeah.
And in terms of conversation within our community or the society in general, do you see any evolving around the topic of mental health and money? Do you see that actually evolving?
Yeah. I'm starting to see people realize that the two are not exclusive. And people are realizing that this game of money is significantly more to do with our mental well-being. And so, yes, I'm definitely seeing that. I'm even seeing in the study of, if you're talking about more like investment management, wealth management, those things that are a bit more complicated. Even when I was studying for some of the qualifications, what I've noticed now is there is a huge segment in behavioral finance and behavioral economics, which wasn't the case before. Some people that studied a chartered financial analyst qualification 10 years ago, that segment wasn't in there.
Okay.
But because there's a real acknowledgement of the relationship between our emotional decisions and our mental well-being and how we make decisions, they've actually added it to the curriculum. So it's something that's really starting to pick up, but I think more can be done. And I think probably it should hold a higher weight in some of these curriculums than it already does.
Fantastic. So viewers, listeners, so it sounds like managing, it's not just about investing and saving. It's also about the mindset and the habits that we have about the money that we end up having. So it's really, really important that everything that Jakes and I have discussed, take some time, pick a pen and paper and jot what you could actually learn from it, because these episodes are designed to make sure that we come up with episodes that are created to help resolve some of the problems that our community is facing, because some of these conversations are not actually being had in our in our community a lot. So we are trying our very best to make sure that we make noise about it. These are the kind of stuff that we need to make noise about to ensure that when there's someone around us and their spending habit is getting out of hand, we know where to direct them. So coming off and relaxing as we are actually about to land, what's one myth that you would actually burst when it comes to money? Because a lot of people have got a lot of myths surrounding money. One myth that you would tell people that get it out of your head before the end of the year?
I'm going to go back to the one I've mentioned already.
Give us one you've not mentioned.
One I've not mentioned.
Yeah.
A myth with money. Okay, that you need a lot of money to start investing. Let me put that one, because we've not touched on investing as much.
Yes, we haven't. That.
Yeah. A big myth is you need a lot of money to invest, and investing is only for wealthy people. Yeah, that's a myth. That's not true. Now, it has some truth to it historically, because before, the technology was not there for individuals to start investing without having lots of money. And most financial advisors, again, will only look at you if you've got a lot of money to invest. Now, with technological advancements, anybody can start investing with as little as even £1 sometimes. So I really want to bust that myth to highlight to the everyday person that you do not need a lot of money to invest. And yes, when you start small, the returns may not seem as high, but this is where we must learn about the power of compound interest.
It do accumulate.
It accumulates, it compounds, it starts off small, but the bigger it gets, the bigger it gets, the bigger it gets, the bigger it gets. And that's how we can build long-term wealth, by starting small.
Fantastic. And in terms of you personally, what is one personal or routine habit that you have actually been applying to maintain your finance and mental well-being?
Yeah. So I do a financial review with my wife as well, at least every 6 months, which is sitting down, and it doesn't need to be at home. Don't do it at home. You would find in couples as well that someone is a bit more interested in money management than the other person. Yeah. And that person wants to bring that person in and force their hand to do financial reviews. I would encourage couples especially to maybe book one night, or even go to the coffee shop, somewhere different from the home, get a coffee, open a bottle. If you want to do it at home, then at least get a bottle of wine or something. Make the mood lighter and actually do a full financial review. that's looking at your finances holistically, from your savings and emergencies, from your insurance products, from your mortgages and when you plan to maybe pay some mortgage off, etc., to investing, to retirement planning, looking at everything holistically. If you do this not too often, but at least twice a year, it brings a level of financial peace because you know that you've taken care of what you need to take care of.
Thank you very much. So Jace has actually shared some incredible insights and how financial well-being and mental health are connected, and how we can all take the practical steps to improve how we go about with our wealth, our money, and our mental health. Jace, it's been incredible having you here. I've actually learned a lot myself being the guest, being the host of this particular episode as well. Where can my audience and those who are viewing and those who are listening, how would they be able to reach out to you?
Yeah.
What's your socials? Would you be able to make them available?
Yeah. So my socials will be Jacques Financial. That's JAX Financial, all one word. So that's on Instagram. And also, if you want to find me on LinkedIn, my full name is Jacques Opoku. It's spelled the French way, so it's JACQUES and then Opoku.
Yeah.
And I'm also on YouTube now as well. So
okay.
Should be coming up with new episodes at some point. So if you search for Jacques Financial UK, again all one word, JX Financial UK, you'll be sure to find me. So yeah, those are the places you can find.
Thank you very much. I actually owe you an apology because I've been saying Jake's. Reason being is there was someone that I actually schooled with whose surname was Jake's.
Yeah.
And they were spelled that way. So
So my name could be said many different ways.
Oh, okay.
Some say Jake, some say Jack. Some people want to be French and say Jacques.
Jacques. Okay.
Well. So if you want to call me Jake, that's fine. Yeah. I accept it.
Thank you. Thank you very much to my listeners and my viewers. Thank you very much for paying attention and also tuning into this particular episode. It means a lot for you to be able to share this episode with your family members because it's family-friendly platform to be able to like. And also, within the comment section, please leave any form of questions that you do have so that I could actually direct it to Jake's, and we can actually post it within our community section on our YouTube channel to make sure that all of us actually grow together in terms of our wealth and also our mental health. And remember, this is the Shelf Conversation podcast, and thank you for tuning in. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.